Old CNN's Acosta for heated Trump exchange. I was horrified by his comments, he says. So that's interesting. So here's the write-up. Fox News' Chris Wallace tonight scolded CNN's Jim Acosta for a heated exchange he had with President Donald Trump. Now, I played that exchange last hour. Acosta got into a fiery back and forth with the president over the recent Russian intel briefing, by the way, which was a lie. It was a leak by Schiff and his people, that the intelligence was that the Russians were interfering in the election again to help Trump. It was a lie, and the media ran with it. The Russians are trying to help Bernie Sanders. Of course they want to help Bernie Sanders. Can you imagine? The worst president the Russians could face would be Donald Trump. Costa got into a fiery back and forth with the president over the recent Russia intel briefing, with Trump asking, didn't CNN apologize for the fact that they said certain things that weren't true? And Acosta remarking, Mr. President, I think our record in delivering the truth is a lot better than yours sometimes, if you don't mind me saying. Wallace spoke at an event at Columbia Journalism School with New York Times correspondent Maggie Haberman, she's a real lightweight, talking about journalism in the Trump era, and particularly the fact that the president attacks them and other journalists on a regular basis. One point, Wallace reiterated his serious criticism of the president's attacks on the press, but he also made a point talking about how journalists can't be engaging in ways like Acosta did. Quote, says Wallace, we can't control the president's behavior. We shouldn't try to control the president's behavior. What we can do is control our behavior. And I worry that the president's attacks have given too many straight news reporters, not talking about the opinion page or primetime, an excuse or license to cross the line themselves and to become players on the field. And I think that is a huge mistake. He said he was horrified by Acosta's comments and said, it's not our job to get into fights with the president, or with presidents, I should say. It's not our job to one-up presidents. It's our job to report on presidents. CNN's communications vice president, Matt Dornick, responded to the Hollywood Reporter's coverage of Wallace's comments and said, Chris Wallace literally works for state TV. Literally works for state TV? What a moron. I don't think Acosta or any real journalist ought to be taking advice from him. Look how they trash Wallace. Chris, if only you spent as much time and effort sharing these morsels of wisdom with your own colleagues. This is CNN's response. But Chris Wallace is exactly right, to this extent. Don't get engaged in personal one-on-one with the president, whoever the president is. Ask your question, make your point, ask your follow-up, and move on. Move on. You're not there to try and humiliate or one-up the president of the United States. That's not your job. The problem is CNN is run by Jeff Motherzucker. He views this as his job. So does MSLSD. That's how they view their job. They are destroying what's left of journalism. They are an unfree press. They are ideologically driven. That's who they are. Wallace's point is exactly right. It's not our job, he says, to get in fights with presidents. It's not our job to one-up presidents. It's our job to report on presidents. And for this, he's under attack. Well, not from here, Chris Wallace. You're exactly right. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.